Hi everyone, it's Mrs. Laviguerre. I'm sorry I'm not at school today to teach you this, but I'm going to show you how to prove quadrilaterals or parallelograms on today's notes. So there's a purple sheet that has the instructions. So to prove a quadrilateral is a parallelogram, we're going to show one of the following four methods. You only have to show one. And most of these are the properties that a parallelogram possesses. Like, for example, if you can prove that both pairs of opposite sides are congruent, then you can show that your quadrilateral is a parallelogram. So what that would look like is, here's your parallelogram. You have to get these opposite sides congruent and those opposite sides congruent. If you can prove both pairs of opposite sides are parallel, that is another method to prove a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. A third way is to get one pair of opposite sides congruent and parallel. And this method usually works when you have a diagonal drawn in your picture. You're going to end up trying to get your two triangles congruent. Then you can get opposite sides congruent. And then when we want to prove parallel, it will help if you highlight the two sides you're trying to prove are parallel, find that diagonal that connects the two, and we're probably going to use corresponding parts of these two triangles to get those alternate interior angles congruent. Then these lines are parallel. So you can get one pair of opposite sides congruent and parallel. You could also prove the diagonals bisect each other. So you would need a picture like this, and you're going to have to show that these two segments are congruent and those two segments are congruent. Now, most proofs work with method 1 or method 3. So I would really focus on practicing just method 1 and method 3. So that's why I have stars next to these. So here's some notes. You still have to start by proving triangles are congruent, and you are still going to need to use corresponding parts of those congruent triangles to prove other angles and segments are congruent. So what you need to kind of think about, you need to ask yourself, is there a transversal? Is there a diagonal to get alternate interior angles congruent to get the lines parallel, like that case I was talking about here? You also need to think about what corresponding parts of the congruent triangles can I use to get sides congruent or angles congruent to get those parallel lines. All right, so I'm going to stop here with the purple sheet, and we're going to look at Unit 3, Day 6 practice. All right, so I'm going to do number 1 with you. Okay, so you always begin by looking at what you have to prove. So it says, prove HELP is a parallelogram. All right, now, we usually try to figure out which two triangles are congruent, right? So that we can make our list. Now, with these proofs, you might not have a clear direction to begin. So it helps if you scan through your givens. So first we're told we just have quadrilateral HELP. That just means it has 4 sides. That is not going to help us at all. Here's a given that could help. Line segment PE bisects line segment HL at point M. So you should know when you are bisecting a segment, you're going to get 2 congruent segments. So eventually in the proof, from that given, we're going to be able to prove those 2 segments are congruent. Now that given does not help us yet, because I still don't know which sets of triangles I'm going to need to be congruent. So I'm going to look at the next given. Angle MPL is going to be congruent to angle MEH. Now it should be very clear which 2 triangles we need to get congruent. So we're going to have to get these 2 triangles congruent. I am going to use this as my correspondence. So I'm going to try to get triangle MPL congruent to triangle MEH. So you are going to write down your 6 congruencies. I go 1, 2, 3. So 1 and 2. And then I do 2 and 3. And then I do 3 and 1. And then the angles. 1, 2, 3 is congruent to 1, 2, 3. Then I go 2, 3, 1. It's easier to just write them and move my eyes than say what I'm doing. And then I go 3, 1, 2. All right, then we number. All right, and find them in your pictures. Angle MPL. MPL is going to be 1, and that's going to correspond to that angle in the other triangle. PLM is angle 3. That's going to correspond in our other triangle to where H is. And then angle LMP, here's my 5. That's going to be my 6. All right, so now I'm ready to get started. So number 1, we're going to list our given. All right, so we are told we have quadrilateral HELP. I'm going to keep going because that doesn't tell me anything. So I also know line segment PE bisects line segment HL at M. So we have a segment bisector. If segment bisector, then 2 congruent segments. So I get to conclude line segment PE was bisecting HL. Line segment HL is the one that's getting cut in half. So we get a line segment, where is it here? LM is congruent to line segment HM. Cross it off, and I have my tick marks in there. All right, that's done. Go back to your list of givens. There is another given. Remember to write the word given before you're stating the given. You have to tell me where you get your information from. All right, those are in our list. That's angle 1. It's congruent to angle 2. All right, there are no more givens. We only have 2 things crossed off the list. We were not given any kind of parallelogram, rectangle, rhombus, square, so we cannot use any properties. I'm looking for a shared side. There's none in there. Then I gotta look for vertical angles. There are vertical angles in this picture. So I can use the theorem, if vertical angles, then congruent angles. And I can now conclude angle 5 is congruent to angle 6. All right, 3 things. Next, I can prove my 2 triangles are congruent by, let me put my marking in for vertical angles, angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side congruency. I am not done with my proof, so I know my next step, I have to use the fact that if I have triangles congruent, then I know their corresponding parts are congruent. I am allowed to pick out 1, 2, 3 more congruent parts. Now is where you need to think. I need this to be a parallelogram. So I want to get opposite sides congruent, which means line segment EH, I can conclude is congruent to line segment PL, right here. That's the conclusion I want to make. Line segment PL is congruent to line segment EH. Now, this is where I'm going to switch to a highlighter. I just got this segment congruent to that segment. I am noticing there is a diagonal that connects the two. This is half of what I need for a parallelogram. Remember, a parallelogram, you need both pairs of opposite sides congruent, or one pair of opposite sides are congruent and parallel. Right now, I just have one pair of opposite sides congruent. But the proof I'm working on looks like this. There is a diagonal that connects these two lines. Now, you could use either diagonal. If I choose line segment HL, I also need to conclude angle 3 is congruent to angle 4. And I could conclude that right here because all the rest of the corresponding parts are congruent. Since I already have angle 1 congruent to angle 2, it would be less work if I chose line segment EP as my diagonal. Now, from, where was it here? From right here. This was my angle 2 is congruent MPL. Nope, that's my bad. That was actually angle 1. That was angle 1 was congruent to angle 2 right here. So, if I have congruent alternate interior angles, then those same lines are parallel. So if alternate interior angles are congruent, then I know I have parallel lines. So now I also get to conclude those same highlighted lines, line segment PL is now parallel to line segment EH. This is the other part I needed to prove the outside is a parallelogram. So final and last step, I now can say if one pair of opposite sides are congruent and parallel, then I have a parallelogram. Remember, that's my symbol for parallelogram. So now I can make the conclusion that HELP is a parallelogram. That's what I wanted to prove. I'm done. All right, I would like you to now do problem 2 by yourself and check your answer with the classroom page. Then come back and watch video number 2. Okay? Bye!